It's hard to imagine just how big space is. So, let's make it easier. What if you could get from one end of the solar system to the other by driving? Because space is so huge, we're bringing it down to Earth by scaling the distances in our solar system down to the size of the continental United States and placing the planets along our route. It's a 3.6 billion mile road trip shrunk down to under 3,000 miles. My name's Colonel Chris Hadfield. When I was 9 years old, I saw the impossible happen. The Eagle has landed. And from that moment forward, I wanted to make the impossible happen for me and to turn myself into an astronaut. We have booster ignition and liftoff of the Space Shuttle Endeavour. I've been a mission specialist on a space shuttle, the commander of the International Space Station. All told, I've logged almost 4,000 hours in space. I've flown through it, I've walked in it, I've even sung in it, but now I'm driving it. Our road trip across the solar system starts here on Long Island, New York. That's the sun off the northeast coast. It's 10,000 degrees F on the surface. That's like 40 times hotter than my NASA spacesuit was designed for. But I'm going somewhere a little bit cooler. Music. On this journey, I'll be joined by some amazing people riding shotgun and guiding my adventures. So, it's time to pick up my first passenger. Come on in. How are you? How are you? It's my pleasure. World-renowned astrophysicist Michaela of City University of New York. That's right, I've heard so much about you. I've heard lots about serenading the masses from outer space, right? And I've been watching all the stuff you've been doing from afar. I think it'll be nice to have a little look at the world and the universe together. Grand tour of the solar system. The first leg of my journey will take us through the inner solar system to Mars. Mars has always held a grip on my imagination, and we're getting tantalizingly close to the day when an astronaut will actually step down onto the red planet. But there are many other wonders along the road from the sun. Look, there it is. Mercury, the first planet from the sun. Mercury is an average of 36 million miles from the sun, but here in the Miniverse it's just 24 miles down the road. It looks a little like the moon, which is a place I've always wanted to go. Many people think that being on Mercury is very similar to being on the moon. No, if you were an astronaut, the sun is this huge fireball lighting up the sky, dominating everything you see around you. It would be quite a hostile environment with the sun just literally staring you in the face. Yeah, and it's blisteringly hot on the surface. It's 800 degrees F. Wow. Imagine being able to bake a pizza on your back porch without an oven. But Mercury also has some surprises. You realize that there's ice on Mercury, like water ice. Water ice, right? It turns out if you go to the poles, the North Pole and the South Pole, and look at the bottom of craters where you have permanent shadows, we think there's evidence of water ice. So even that close to the sun, there are places that are permanently in the dark. That's right, this shocks a lot of scientists who have this image of Mercury being this hellhole. Beyond Mercury, we chart a course for Venus. In the universe, it's about 31 million miles, which means in the Miniverse, Venus is only about 20 miles away. Venus and the Earth are almost the same size. For a long time, astronomers thought Venus was a kind of twin sister to our planet, but apparently it's Earth's evil twin. You know, when I was a kid, I read science fiction novels that said that astronauts of the future will vacation on Venus. They'll have tropical environments and swim in the oceans of Venus. Boy, were they wrong. Tropical environments. I think that was a bit of an understatement. Temperatures approach 900 degrees on the surface of Venus, hotter than Mercury, yeah? And it rains sulfuric acid. And the atmosphere is so thick and the pressure is so great on the surface of Venus. It's like being half a mile underneath the water in the ocean. So that's like being way underwater with the pressure of the water all around you, yeah. Even submarines will be crushed like an eggshell at that depth. You know, here on the planet Earth, we experience pressure on our skin, 15 pounds per square inch. On Venus, it's 1,500 pounds of pressure per square inch. So it's sort of like in a spaceship when the engine's light and you're crushed back in your chair, except it's crushing you from all directions, not just from one side, right? So, if you're an astronaut walking on Venus, you'd be crushed like an eggshell. I make a great tour guide, huh? Maybe you're not such a good salesman though, I'm not sure. You should not be selling real estate on Venus. I'm selling Mars, actually. Ah, here we are. Music. Who would have thought that this jewel hanging there in the sky is bright because of sulfuric acid droplets? And yet we've built spaceships that have made it all the way to the surface. Right, just for a few minutes and then they got fried. So it's the hottest planet in the solar system, and sulfuric acid is raining from the sky. That's right. So if I was a tour guide, I'd say maybe we should skip Venus this year. As we leave Venus, we're headed for the only planet I've actually orbited as an astronaut. And the inner planets are so close to each other that to get there, we still won't be leaving Long Island. I think you're going to recognize our next destination. It's Terra. It's our home world. Home sweet home. Yeah. We take it for granted, right? Yeah. But most of the universe is quite hostile. All these planets that are blisteringly hot or freezing cold, it's great to find one that's just right. And there's my old home away from home, the International Space Station. I spent 5 months there, music taking in the view every single moment I could. And look, you can also see the northern lights and the southern lights. Beautiful. I've had the great privilege of seeing the aurora in a way only a handful of people have. I was outside on a spacewalk. It was on the dark side of the Earth. Of course, I was just by happenstance outside doing a spacewalk. I had my lights shut off. My eyes had adjusted to the darkness, and we went into the southern lights, the aurora australis. They were rippling between my legs and pouring by. They're mostly light green and red, as you've seen in the pictures, but then you get all the little subtle colors as well. I couldn't convince myself that even though I knew it was real, it was just hard to somehow accept the fact that this amount of gorgeous, pulsating light and color could be a natural, real thing. It was one of the most magnificent experiences of my life. Music plus, we're going 5 miles a second. So it's almost like if you watch the surf crashing on the shore, but then you're skimming through it on a board. So you get your own added speed like a surfer on a wave. Makes it even more magnificent. It's just, well, you. That's the title of your next book, Surfing on the Aurora. Maybe you're a better travel agent than I thought. Surf the Aurora. I like it. Well, I've left Earth before and I'm doing it again. And this is a journey I've dreamed about many times. From Earth to Mars, a world that has the best chance of becoming humanity's next home. Even when Mars is closest to us in its orbit, traveling there in a spaceship will take between 6 and 9 months. In the Miniverse, it's just down the Brooklyn-Queens Expressway. Sounds like a quick trip, but in the Miniverse we have to deal with rush hour. So, how soon do you think until it's not just robots going there, but people? Well, you know, going to the moon was a piece of cake. 3 days. There are people that would disagree with you. Everything's relative. To go to Mars, let's face it, takes months. NASA's laid out a tentative timetable. We're talking about the 2030s just to orbit around the red planet, and perhaps by 2040 actually landing on there. Wow. Unless, of course, private enterprise catches up, in which case we'll be on Mars even sooner. Yeah. Would you want to go to Mars? Oh, absolutely. Yeah. In a heartbeat. I'd love to. The idea of that early exploration and discovery, that's what always has made my heart beat faster. Yeah. If it were easy, I don't think I'd really want to go. But the challenge, that is what really makes me want to go. But for me, nah, I don't think so. First of all, being a physicist, I know the odds of success. 1% of the spacecraft will blow up and never reach Mars. Sounds like physicists are pessimists to me. No, realist. That's all. Just realist. But that means 99% of them make it, you know. Yeah, I think Mars is worth the drive. So if I sign up to go to Mars, if I stick my hand up way high and get picked, what do you see as the biggest hazards between here and there? Is it getting hit by small meteorites? Is it the radiation? I think it's all of the above. Especially radiation. Radiation from the sun, cosmic rays. Radiation causes premature aging. At best, your body will age faster than normal, and it causes cancer. You know something else, having spent half a year in space. One of the beauties of being on the International Space Station is you got the world in your window all the time. But as soon as we turn tail to Earth, fire the engines and start going to Mars, within a week or two, Earth is just a little dot and you have nothing out the window for 6 months, 9 months, however long it takes. I think you can't play down the psychological effect of that, right? So my attitude is, let someone else get all the ticker tape parades. Despite all the challenges, Mars pulls at my imagination. It's a place where humanity has long hoped to find the first signs of alien life. For the most part, we see no evidence of life whatsoever. You know, some people think they see a face on Mars. And there's one formation that looks like Kermit the Frog, actually on Mars. I've seen the Kermit the Frog formation, but they're optical illusions. There's evidence of methane in the atmosphere, which can come from microorganisms, but doesn't have to. Traces of water might bubble up to the surface, but might be too salty to support life. But there's also water in the ice at the poles. Journalists say, follow the money. Physicists and astronomers say, follow the water, follow the water. Where there's water, there could be hydrocarbons, organic chemicals, and who knows, maybe even an alien form of DNA. And if we found that, that would force us to rewrite all the textbooks about life in the universe. So look at that. Wow, you can really see Mars in its full glory. I mean, you can see why the ancients named it after Mars, the god of war, because it's so red. Red like blood, more like rust, more like the bridge, right? Rusty like the bridge. Sometimes that rust in the soil gets kicked up by the Martian wind. So if I was standing on the surface, the sky would be pink, not blue. You know what amazes me is to think that right now on Earth, there are a few people in darkened rooms operating controls that are driving robots around on that planet right now, and that maybe not too long from now, people will have a chance to go all the way there, actually, in person. There'd be many wonders to behold on the surface of Mars, but the one I want to see most is Olympus Mons. It's the biggest mountain on any planet in the solar system. It would extend from here, New York City, all the way into Canada. And how high it would be like, well, take 53 of those Freedom Towers going all the way up. 53 of them. Wow. Yeah. Imagine 53 of them stacked vertically on top of each other. Wow, that's a lot of height, wouldn't it? That's 16 miles high, 3 times taller than Mount Everest. And you don't want to be the astronaut that plants the flag on the top of Olympus Mons there? No, I'll let someone else have the glory. But that's the lure of Mars. As I drive Michaela back to her home in the city, I wonder what home would look like on Mars. So, instead of building a dome like in science fiction novels, why not use the lava tubes that already exist? Tubes that once had liquid lava flowing through them can also be used as caves for the astronauts, protected from the cosmic rays, the solar flares, and the micrometeorites. That'd be a quick and dirty way to get a Mars base off the ground. It was an absolute delight, Professor, to travel the inner solar system with you. Right. It's been a cosmic tour through the universe. Thanks. I look forward to seeing you somewhere else around the solar system. We covered 141 million miles in the solar system without ever leaving New York. But that's about to change. Like a pioneer pushing into a vast, uncharted wilderness, I'm ready to leave the familiar surroundings of the inner solar system for the strange and mysterious realm of the outer planets. In other words, I'm headed to Philadelphia. In the inner solar system, we passed 4 planets in less than 100 miles. Things are going to get a lot more spaced out. In the universe, the average distance between the Sun and Mars is 141 million miles. Then the average distance from Mars to Jupiter is 342 million miles. In the Miniverse, that's like a trip from New York to Washington, D.C. Whoa! Halfway between Mars and Jupiter, there's an enormous ring of rocks called the asteroid belt. Someone just missed. Yikes. The asteroid belt has millions of small particles. It also has about 750,000 bigger asteroids, some of them more than 3,000 feet across. Music. Some people think that the asteroid belt looks like the world's most dangerous video game. But in real life, there's an average of about 600,000 miles between each of the significant asteroids. Even in the Miniverse, that's about a quarter of a mile. Still plenty of space to maneuver through safely. So, I've made it to Philadelphia in one piece. As I head for the outer planets, I'll need a guide who really knows this part of the solar system. Hey, come on aboard. Well, I thank you. It is the Chief Astronomer and Planetarium Director of the Franklin Institute in Philadelphia, Mr. Derek Pitt. Welcome to my spaceship. How are you, Chris? Thanks a lot. I'm ready. Are you ready to head across the solar system with me? I am ready to take a trip through the planets. All right, so we got some big planets coming. Glad to have you aboard. I'm looking forward to it. This is the first time I've actually taken a trip through the outer solar system. Oh, this is the first time for everything. So the beauty of shrinking the whole solar system down to the size of the US is you get through the asteroid belt fairly quickly. We're on the road to Washington, D.C., drawn in by the immense gravitational pull of the most massive planet in the solar system. Jupiter's almost 88,000 miles in diameter. That's 1,300 times bigger than Earth. You could actually fit Earth and all the other planets inside Jupiter and still have room. And in fact, Jupiter itself weighs more than all the other planets of the solar system put together twice. Wow. It's the heavyweight. It is big. Jupiter's huge, but even with all that mass, there's no place for an astronaut to put a footprint. It's really just a big ball of gas. Wow. Hydrogen, helium, methane, ammonia. Wow. But as an astronaut, what would it look like to take my spacecraft and start diving down into Jupiter? You'd have a very interesting trip as you descended down into the clouds of Jupiter. First of all, you'd start down into the cloud tops of maybe several thousand miles. You'd start to notice that you're losing sunlight and things are getting darker, but you'd begin to pick up lightning. You'd see flashes all around you. If you get right to the very center of Jupiter, what's right there in the middle? Well, oh my gosh, the pressure increases so much that gaseous hydrogen can be squished down until it becomes a liquid, and then it turns into something very interesting called liquid metallic hydrogen. Liquid metallic hydrogen, that sounds like a science fiction movie. I wish I could explain it, but I don't. You know that creature that drags himself up out of that silver liquid? That sounds like liquid metallic hydrogen where that guy came from. Yeah. Well, in any case, right down in the middle of all this liquid metallic hydrogen, there might be a rocky core, a solid core inside that. So if you get right to the core of Jupiter, I mean, what sort of pressure are you actually facing there? All right. So the pressure at the core of Jupiter is about 30 million times the surface pressure here on the Earth. So if you start at about 6 feet tall, by the time you get to the center of Jupiter, you're going to be about an inch tall, but you also have extremely high temperature down there as well. About 63,000 degrees F, about 6 times hotter than the surface of the sun. So if you're an astronaut going into this, you're going to have a beautiful light show for the first half of your trip, and then the next half of your trip is going to be like the worst horror show nightmare you've ever experienced. Wow. Yeah, I'm going to have to really rethink my Jupiter spacesuit. I think you might want to go with a space probe thing instead. Yeah. Okay. So maybe it's safer to let spacecraft like the Juno probe go inside Jupiter. Great. Approaching Jupiter. But to orbit Jupiter, to see it up close, would be one of the most amazing experiences in the solar system. Wow. Look at that. Right above. Holy cow. You know, I knew it was big, Chris, but this is really incredible. Look at the colors of that. That's amazing. And look at the detail you can see in the cloud tops. Wow. All the little whirlpools. That's worth the trip. That is definitely worth the trip. It makes sense that Jupiter's over Washington, D.C. Washington's influence is felt all over the world. Just like Jupiter's influence has been felt all across the solar system. Its gravitational pull is so strong, it acts like a cosmic vacuum cleaner, sucking in comets and asteroids that might otherwise rocket into the inner solar system and strike our planet. As an explorer, I'm often drawn to the things that frighten me the most. On Jupiter, it's the intense violence of the monstrous Great Red Spot. Wow, that's incredible. And the red spot right over here coming across this way, it's a ferocious storm that may have been churning for 300 years. It's really spectacular. If I could orbit Jupiter at the same altitude that the space station orbits our planet, the Great Red Spot would fill my entire field of view. It's just that big, larger than the whole Earth. That's a view and a half. That really is amazing. I flew through a lot of bad weather when I was a fighter pilot. I wonder what it would be like to drive through the Great Red Spot. Are you serious? Yeah, that's an awfully dangerous thing to do. The center is relatively calm, but as you near the outer edge, the winds climb to 400 miles per hour, twice as fast as the worst hurricane winds on Earth. Okay. When you're flying through the Great Red Spot of Jupiter, remember, keep your windows up and your air conditioning on. And that's because the red spot is full of ammonia and ammonium sulfite. Not good stuff. Not good. As we speed away from Jupiter, I'm reminded of the Cassini spacecraft that visited here in the year 2000. It sent back some unforgettable images before using Jupiter's gravity to slingshot towards its ultimate destination, Saturn. I've been lucky to see many spectacular sights in my time as an astronaut, but I've always thought that nothing would be more stunning than to see the rings of Saturn up close with my own eyes. It took the Cassini probe more than 3 years to make the trip from Jupiter to Saturn. But in the Miniverse, Saturn's just 6 hours away in West Virginia. Got a bit of road to cover between now and then, and it looks like we won't get to Saturn till after dark. Good thing we space explorers always pack snacks. Well, look at that. We got some astronaut ice cream. Oh, my favorite. What's that? Let's try some of this. Can I have a piece? Sure. Let me give you some. There we go. The attractive color you'd hope your space food would be. Cheers, cheers. It's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. So I do have to fess up though. We do not have astronaut ice cream in space. It tastes nice, but it's just too crumbly and not practical for weightlessness, right? There's going to be stuff in your nose, in your eyes, in the computers. This would be a mess everywhere. Not bad for the Miniverse though. No, it's good for the Miniverse. So let's just talk about the planet itself. You're an astronomer. What can I expect when I get to Saturn? It's the rings. It's got rings. Everybody loves the rings. Yeah, all the gas giants have rings, but none of them can match Saturn's. They're measuring about 176,000 miles across. That's wide enough to line up 22 Earths side by side. If you were flying your spaceship right next to the rings, what do you think it would look like up close? If you're right up close on it, it really would look like a very well-organized rubble field because you have these particles of different sizes. You know, you're down to something that is dust-sized and maybe up to objects that are the size of a small car or even a small house, but they're all in there together from just a little distance. The rings don't look like a rubble field at all. Wow. Look right there. That is spectacular. Wow. You can see everything. You can see the colors and the delicate swirls in the rings. The rings really are spectacular. Oh my gosh. Saturn has dozens of moons and at least 3 of them have underground oceans. Those are Dione, Enceladus, and Saturn's biggest moon, Titan. For a moon, Titan is pretty titanic, even bigger than the planet Mercury. Titan's really a wonderful place to visit too because it's the one place in the solar system that we know of that has oceans on the surface. Titan has oceans of what? Ah, there's the catch. A lot of it is methane that's actually out on the surface, pooling in lakes. It also has a cloud cover that actually rains methane down onto the surface. Wow. So methane rain at about 300 degrees below zero. Oh, wow. So, you know, the suit that I wore for my spacewalks, I'm not sure that it could put up with the huge temperature extremes that we're seeing on the moons of Saturn. You need something really special. I don't think thick socks are going to help. You need a little bit more than that. You know, sleeping on a space station, you dream about views like this. When you close your eyes, sleeping on a spaceship, sometimes you see flashes of light with your eyes closed. It's the radiation and the high energy particles from the universe that are going through your optic nerve and making your vision flash. It's a real reminder that you are somewhere other than Earth. You don't see this on Earth, do you? No, because our atmosphere soaks up the little particles that cause this to happen in our eyes. And I can imagine the first astronaut, the very first one who saw that, is probably going, I don't think I want to tell anybody. I'm seeing flashes when I close my eyes. I could see 2 astronauts going, hey, do you see things like that? Yeah. Oh, we all do. Oh, okay. That's a really special experience. It's part of what astronauts dream about. I hate to leave, but I have more planets to visit. And Derek's got to get back to Philadelphia. Time to part ways. Chris, it's been great. It has been wonderful touring the solar system with you. Thank you so much for taking me around. I've had a great time seeing all these planets so close. I got a little bit more of the solar system to see, but thanks for being a tour guide. You have a really great trip. Safe travels home, sir. All right, Chris. Take care now. All right. Bye. As for me, I need an early start, because after Saturn, distances between planets get extreme. Music, so there's no time to waste. This is what's amazing. Our trip from here to the next planet is further than the entire trip so far. 900 million miles from Saturn to Uranus. The solar system is big. In the Miniverse that puts Uranus hundreds of miles down the road near Kansas City. Gonna ride that lightning one more time. I'm gonna ride that lightning one more time. Gonna ride it one more time, because there ain't no finish line. I'm gonna ride that lightning one more time. That lightning out of sight, out beyond Saturn. Just like on the road through America's heartland, they can look pretty empty. Gives you a lot of time to think and look. When I was a fighter pilot flying F-18S in the subarctic, I loved to take the aeroplane up as high as air traffic control would let me. And then I'd engage the autopilot, sort of like I could engage the cruise control in this car, and then I would shut off all the lights in the cockpit so that it was completely dark. And then I would let my eyes adjust, and you could start to see the stars as your eyes opened up. And for me, that was sort of an early taste of what spaceflight was going to be like. As close as I could get to the heavens, but almost no barrier at all between me and the rest of everything else. My first small step into space. If we were making this trip 300 years ago, it would have been in a horse and carriage. We would have stopped at Saturn, because as far as everybody knew, that was the last planet. It was the furthest planet that we could see with the naked eye, But there is another planet down that road in front of me, another giant of gas and ice, Uranus. From a distance, it's hard to imagine the violence going on there. These Midwestern flatlands can get hit by 200 miles per hour tornadoes. But if I flew a spaceship into the clouds of Uranus, I'd be fighting winds up to 560 miles per hour. And as you get closer, you start to see something very strange. Uranus is lying on its side. So if you were the Space Transportation Safety Inspector, you'd look at this and say, what the heck happened here? Something in the early solar system. Possibly some rogue planets knocked this giant world over, rings and all. And that might not have been the most incredible thing to happen to Uranus. About 4 billion years ago, it was ripped out of its orbit. Gravitational interference from Jupiter and Saturn made Uranus switch places around the Sun with Neptune. That's like Kansas swapping locations with Colorado, but it happened. So today, Neptune is 1 billion miles out from Uranus, which puts the 8th planet in western Colorado. Like the pioneers of old, I've reached the Rocky Mountains. Ahead lies my final frontier, and here's my final co-pilot. Hello. Hello, Commander Hadfield. Nice to meet you. It is great to meet Dr. Laura Danley, astronomer and curator of the Griffith Observatory in Los Angeles. Welcome to my spaceship, thank you. We have the privilege of traveling a little bit of the solar system together. I'm really looking forward to it, yeah. A long distance to travel. Let's go, let's go. Seat belts, all right. Engage. So Laura, as my spaceship enters into orbit around Neptune, what's the first thing I would notice? Well, Neptune is blue and there's nothing you can do about it. That'd be a good song, wouldn't it? Maybe you could sing it later. Looking down on Earth from the space station, you're struck by the incredible deep blue of our planet. But the blue on Neptune isn't water. It's reflected light from methane in the atmosphere. And that atmosphere is ruled by the wildest winds in the whole solar system. There are storms in the atmosphere that appear quite dark, like spinning storms. Yeah, huge cyclones. And they are so violent that the wind speeds in those are about 1,500 miles an hour. A category whatever hurricane at 200 miles an hour is wicked. Yeah, this is a category 25. It's way up there. How big is the storm? The big one is about the size of the whole Earth. You could fit a whole Earth in it. Yeah, it makes our storms look like kindergarten over here. Earth-sized storms with winds 10 times faster than my top speed. Wow, that's incredible. Yes, and look at that. Well, here we are. Wow, what an amazing sight. An astronaut visiting Neptune wouldn't want to leave orbit because there's nowhere to stand and plant your flag. No, you can't be standing on it because it's gas mainly, so you would keep falling on through. Whoa, here's some solid ground. Neptune's largest moon, Triton. Wow. Triton is an amazing world. First of all, it's about 1,500 miles across. Standing on Triton, what do I see? What's it look like? Well, an icy surface everywhere. Mainly nitrogen, little methane, maybe a little CO2. If you're standing in the right place, you might also see kind of an orangey rust-colored coating on it. These are hydrocarbons or organic molecules like methane and ethane that have been singed by ultraviolet light from the sun, and they fall down onto the surface like just a fine veneer on top. And if you were in the right place, then you may see a geyser of nitrogen ice spewing into space, an ice geyser spewing up around me. Wow, 5 miles tall. Think about that compared to, say, Old Faithful. Miles high. Right, I want to go. It's an amazing world. Sounds like it'd be worth a trip. Yeah. Triton may have something special that makes it a target for future explorers. A warm subsurface ocean with the possibility of life. Think how amazing it would be to gaze from a scenic overlook on a distant world and see someone or something looking back at you. It's opportunities like this that keep us traveling ever deeper into the cosmos to places like Pluto. Pluto's orbit can take it more than 1 billion miles from Neptune. On this Miniverse trip, it's about 800 miles away. It's the longest leg of our journey and will take us all the way to the Pacific Ocean off Santa Monica, California. You ready to pick up speed? Yep, you bet. How many G's do you pull in the shuttle? Not very many. 3. Shuttle's a pretty low G vehicle. Think you can get us 3G? Sure can. Warp factor 3. So when you go beyond Neptune, is it like in Star Trek where there's all those things whizzing by, or is it empty? It's, for all intents and purposes, empty. Lots of space. So space is the right name. Yes, it is. Lots of it. Space. Lots of it. Applause. That pile of rubble. I know. It's like a Star Trek set, doesn't it? It does. Fighting the Gorn. Why does everybody know about fighting the Gorn? That is like one of those memorable... The Gorn was such a wonderful monster. Even the Hubble telescope can barely make Pluto out. That's because it's an average of 3.6 billion miles away. If you were able to fly out there in the shuttle, it would take you about 20 years. A long time with 7 people sharing one toilet. That would be a while. And then if we were driving at 60 miles per hour, it would take us 60,700 years to get out there. Wow, are we there yet? In 2006, while I was working at the Johnson Space Center, my NASA colleagues launched the New Horizons probe to get a closer look at Pluto. But while New Horizons was en route, Pluto was demoted from 9th planet to dwarf planet. I kind of feel bad for Pluto. You know, it was part of the club for all that time, and we just kind of threw it out just because we changed our own standards. How do you feel? I have to say I feel the same, which is why sometimes I mistakenly still call it a planet. It's just a force of habit, and it has a history. In the summer of 2015, I was on the edge of my seat as the New Horizons probe sent back one mind-blowing picture after another. Music, suddenly, I could imagine myself walking on this distant world. I think everyone thought it was just going to be an icy chunk out there. Yeah, like an ice cube out there. It surpassed everyone's wildest imagination. Turns out, if I went to Pluto, I'd find a world with a super thin atmosphere that, like Earth's, is mostly nitrogen. A world with mountains of solid ice 11,000 feet high. And Pluto has an ice field about 1,000 miles across in the shape of a heart. And deep under its icy surface, a huge, warm, liquid ocean. Nobody thought we'd be following the water to Pluto. We're following the water out of the Mojave Desert to the city of Los Angeles. I've traveled from ocean to ocean, a mega journey across the Miniverse. Cool car, very cool. There's a mist rolling in from the Pacific Ocean, which gives me a very slight idea of what a day on Pluto would be like, 40 times farther away from the sun than the Earth. So the sun shrunk down to almost nothing, shrunk down to just a bright star, really. So it's not entirely dark, though, sort of like it is around dusk here on Earth. So where should we land? Should we land right in the middle of the heart? You know, that wouldn't be a bad place to land because it's wide open. You have a nice little smooth spot. Good for skating. I was just going to say, you're Canadian. Strap on your skates and head on out. What sort of gravity does Pluto have? It's just about 1/15 of Earth's. And the moon is 1/6. Really jump high. If you weigh 200 pounds on Earth, you're weighing like 12 pounds on Pluto. Yeah, wow. It'd be pretty cool. It would be very cool. Actually, be pretty cold. Every day we're closer to the time an astronaut from Earth looks out from the porthole of a spacecraft and sees, there it is at long last, long voyage. Music, imagine having that in front of your naked eyes. Still can't get over it, has a heart on it. It's just so poetically perfect. It is, it really is. It's a beautiful world, and you know, to have been around the world so many times, you look at the world a lot, but it's when you turn and look at what's still on the other side, what's still left to discover, what lies beyond that, that's the real mind-bending part. When I was a kid, Neil Armstrong stepped onto the surface of an alien world, and the universe opened up to me. Now I've driven through the solar system. It's been an amazing ride. Someday people will really fly to these worlds and leave their footprints on other planets and moons. Happy landings. See you.